Hello, fabulous fans and superstars of my dear friend Nadia Shah. I am Yuriria Robles and I welcome you to the predictions for each sign for the month of August 2026. Happy birthdays to all the Leos and Virgos celebrating this month. Let's begin with a general introduction to the most important astrological conditions. August continues with the Sun's transit through the sign of Leo. This sign leads us to seek self-expression. Furthermore, at this time and for the next year, it will be accompanied by Jupiter in Leo, which will foster a hunger to express ourselves, to show ourselves in all our splendor. However, it also increases manifestations of presumptions and arrogance. The need for applause will be unstoppable. We will crave it at all costs. All growth, not only for Leos, but for everyone, depends on self-expression and creativity, to create something intelligently due to the strong influence of Pluto in Aquarius. The latter is currently in its retrograde period, so introspection should foster an objective and collective awareness to balance the process of individuality that Jupiter will encourage. The problem is that during this same year, which begins now, we will also face the transit of the lunar nodes, which will advance into the Aquarius-Leo polarity. The South Node will exert its influence on Leo, diminishing the importance of the creative and expressive matters we have mentioned, unless one is willing to give them a spiritual dimension. That is, we must find a cause that benefits everyone. Teach and share what we create, the stage and the applause. This need for recognition in Leo will be readily granted to the signs of Aries and Sagittarius, with greater demands on Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus. Meanwhile, Capricorn and Pisces will have to make an effort to think generously and with self-care, which by their very nature is difficult for them to admit. And the same applies to Cancer and Libra. Gemini and Virgo have the ability to choose transformation now. If they let the opportunity pass, they won't feel it as a loss, but they also won't take advantage of the transformation. The choice is yours. Meanwhile, the North Node in Aquarius, along with Pluto's presence in this sign, will lead us to prioritize group processes, rational thought, and creative intelligence. This process will be accompanied by Uranus in Gemini. You will have inspiration to achieve a new way of thinking, communicating what we know and how we come together in groups. Furthermore, this month we enter the second eclipse period of the year. The first occurs during the new moon. It's a solar eclipse. Its configuration imposes work discipline and creative self-expression in both social and professional life. Let's take advantage of this opportunity to set aside selfishness and strengthen generosity. Our own circumstances will show us the way. The solar eclipse in Leo is one of the strongest movements for a worn-out ego, and persisting in an individualistic stance now will not be advisable unless, as I already mentioned, the stage and the applause are shared. On August 22nd, the Sun enters Virgo, once again emphasizing the contradiction that while it illuminates mental processes of analysis and critique, it also brings the influence of Jupiter, which is far more individualistic than Virgo's natural expression. The opportunity presented by the Sun's transit through Virgo is that it establishes a harmonious dialogue with Chiron in Taurus, and therefore within us. This is a time to take stock of what we have and what we lack. Acknowledging reality may be painful, but it will establish a starting point for accepting what is real and possible, separating it from the pain of having or not having. Regarding the lunar eclipse on August the 28th, during the full moon, we must balance work discipline with creative self-expression in our social and professional lives. We must transform victimhood and drama, as well as judgment and criticism. In short, generosity must come first. As for communication, Mercury has completed the emotional review process that had us immersed in an intense emotions and resentments. Although Mercury's transit through Cancer isn't over yet, take advantage of this time to resolve all the emotional issues that have arisen so they don't hinder you from now on. Mercury moves into Leo on August the 10th, first entering into a dialogue with Pluto, reinforcing our need to think about how to create opportunities for expression and expansion within the group. Then Mercury will join Jupiter on August the 15th, which will emphasize creative thinking, as we've been explaining. This will be a very productive time, but it will be very close to the Sun, so it's a very important moment that imposes its own contradictions. It's about thinking about how growth will occur and in what area, which we'll detail for each sign. This is a personal and private matter that will first confront Neptune and then Saturn, which means we have to move from inspiration to reality. In other words, think about how to grow before announcing it to others, which will be very difficult due to Leo's inherent inertia. As Mercury reaches its superior conjunction with the Sun on August the 27th and 28th, a precise moment to carefully consider what or whom one wishes to serve, since it will be in a challenging aspect with Uranus. We are expected to find a new way to analyze and review with agility and speed as a wealth of new information and relationships will be unleashed. Another extraordinary opportunity arises this month with Venus' transit into Libra, its ruling sign since August 6th. Essentially, from that day until the 17th, an opportunity is established to transform ideas, mental processes, relationships, and communication, provided one maintains an aspiration to achieve something extraordinary. Therefore, regarding love, creativity, and justice, one must be open to the unexpected and experience it harmoniously and courageously. We must mention that from the 10th to the 15th, there will be a tendency towards arguments and breakups. Let's try to consider agreement and diplomacy in the face of new situations. Again, it's a matter of choice. Do we fight about everything, or do we at least agree on how to live together? Now let's review the signs. It's advisable to consider your ascendant sign as well as your natal moon sign and not just your sun sign. Considering these three perspectives will help us to better understand what's happening to us. Although ideally, you should consult a professional astrologer to get a comprehensive understanding of who you are and what awaits for you. Aries. Mars, your ruling planet, is in Gemini until August the 10th, making your business dealings and relationships complex due to Mercury's final transit through Cancer. This can make you fickle and fearful of losing your sense of security. Additionally, Uranus will influence Mercury from now on, making your thinking faster, more original, and erratic, for better or for worse. On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer in an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate gracefully, to seek a new level of security, no longer external but from within, with inner strength. It's a challenge because your actions will be very volatile, even anxious. You need to temper your strength. When the Sun is in Leo, you feel strengthened and full of energy. A year of transformation is coming for your children and loved ones, but above all, for your creativity. At the beginning of the month, write down all your creative ideas and inspirations, while Neptune helps you with its energy and Saturn organizes you. What you will have to struggle with is your impatience and inconsistency. Then the cycle that Jupiter begins in its conjunction with the Sun brings you a 12-year period of creativity, its growth, and good fortune, provided you accept what the solar eclipse in Leo on August 12 proposes. These are unexpected and inevitable events that must be accepted nonetheless, so take advantage of the novelty to inspire yourself and create something new intelligently. However, I must inform you about the South Node's transit into Leo, so whatever new you create must benefit others, not just yourself. When the Sun moves into Virgo on the 22nd, the situation changes and you'll need to focus on daily tasks, attending to necessary service and delivery requirements. Then the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th brings changes that signal the end of certain situations and therefore the need for new arrangements. At the beginning of the month, Mercury, still in Cancer, ends its long stay in the area of your family, livelihood, and home, where resentments and recriminations should end, giving way to loving and familial bonds. On the 9th, Mercury moves into Leo, allowing you to focus on what's important, your creative process. Regarding love, Venus in Libra, by its ruling planet, takes the lead in your romantic relationships, so it's a time to be elegant and kind. Your friends and siblings can also form a very powerful group if you are willing to be diplomatic and patient. Furthermore, take advantage of ideas, inspiration, and mental processes. Avoid indecisiveness and don't let yourself be swept away by fantasy. Taurus, for the first 9 days of the month, Venus is still in Virgo. You'll feel creative and detail-oriented, though somewhat demanding and critical. Then, Venus in Libra, strengthened by its ruling planet, will take the reins of your work, social and productive relationships. The challenge you must overcome is the fear of taking action and also avoiding nightmares. An encounter with the divine awaits you. Developing your faith is difficult because you prefer what you can touch, describe, or at least materialize. Indulging in spiritual fantasies is truly challenging for you, but there's no other way to balance your mind and heart. You need to cultivate your faith, not fear it. Furthermore, Chiron has just entered Taurus for the first time. With this, you must recognize that the physical, especially your body, needs attention and care, and above all, forgive yourself when you need to. With the Sun passing through Leo, it's a time to attend to matters of the heart. You truly like your home, look luxurious and well kept, and it seems a period of growth and enrichment is beginning, not necessarily in material terms, but also in creativity and expression. However, with the solar eclipse in Leo on August 12th, new circumstances will arise that you cannot anticipate or avoid and whose outcome you will have to accept. All that remains is to find inspiration to create something new with intelligence. Furthermore, the South Node's transit into Leo compels you to ensure that growth benefits everyone involved, not just yourself. The goal is to distribute your attention. Looking your best is important at home and it's like your kingdom. But in the social and professional spheres, the right attitude is one of cooperation within the group. I understand that the balance will be difficult, but take time to care for yourself as well. You are not the least important one. With the Sun's transit into Virgo, attend to your children and loved ones, but avoid criticism and judgment. Instead, offer a vision of service and dedication. Even the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th brings changes in your friends, a new care for children, and creativity. Gemini, I truly understand you, dear Gemini. On the one hand, Uranus' presence in your sign accelerates your mind, your movements, and your relationships. You feel more restless than usual. But Mercury, your ruling planet, hasn't quite left Cancer yet, bringing back emotionally charged memories, even resentments and grudges. You really need to clear them away at least during the first 9 days of the month. Things will be very different on the 10th when Mercury enters Leo. This will allow you to assimilate the incredible speed you now possess, in addition to all the changes that will occur in your mind from now on. Let me explain. The Sun's presence in Leo inspires you to express yourself much more each year, and your thoughts can be expressed more easily. Even conversations with siblings, cousins, and neighbors are more fun. But with Jupiter's entry into Leo, a process of expression will intensify, proposing a 12-year creative endeavor. So at this moment you receive the harmonious dialogue that Neptune offers you, as well as the order that Saturn proposes, so that you can move from inspiration to reality. 2 more astrological events will impact your thinking and communication. The first one is the solar eclipse in Leo on August 12th, showing you an unexpected but important situation. After the initial surprise, embrace the new reality with intelligence. The second event is the transit of the South Node into Leo, which asks you to ensure that everything you create, think, and imagine serves others, not just your own recognition. The Sun's transit through Virgo leads you to tidy up your home, even if it doesn't end up as perfect as you would like. The lunar eclipse on Pisces on August the 28th culminates this period of changes at home and within the family. In light of these new developments, there's nothing left to do but face reality, not the level of perfection you demand. Regarding the connection Venus forms in Libra, which by its ruling planet takes the reins of relationships and creativity, it draws inspiration from your new ideas and those that come from abroad, higher education, and even the court. Ideas, inspiration, and mental processes will be guided with elegance and harmony. Avoid indecisiveness and being swept away by fantasy. Cancer. During the eclipse season, changes are emphasized for you not because they are stronger, but because the lunar movements are more evident for you. Furthermore, Mercury, still in your sign until August the 9th, closes the lingering memory processes of resentment and grudges that must be left behind. On the 10th, when Mercury moves into Leo, it will help your focus on your values and prepare you for what you will create from now on. The Sun's presence in Leo, which emphasizes your house of values and resources every year, is even more important now because Jupiter's conjunction with the Sun will initiate a long 12-year process. Anything you begin in favor of this aspect will take this time to bear fruit. Take advantage of the harmonious dialogue between Neptune, which inspires you, and Saturn, which guides you, supporting you in moving from inspiration to reality in the professional and social spheres. Embrace what is coming with full awareness. Furthermore, 2 astrological events will change your circumstances and you will have to face them. The first one is the solar eclipse in Leo on August the 12th, which may indicate a shift in your resources and values, but it is definitely not an end. It is a reassessment of your course. The second event is the South Node's transit into Leo, which asks you to ensure that what you produce benefits everyone, not just yourself. Mars is in Gemini until August the 10th, causing you to encounter arguments that frighten you and are complicated by Mercury's final pass through Cancer, making you fickle and fearful of losing your sense of security. In addition, Uranus' influence will now affect Mercury, making your thinking faster, more original, and erratic, for better or for worse, which makes you nervous because having so many ideas at once prevents you from feeling deeply. However, on August 11th, Mars enters your sign in an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate gracefully, to seek a new level of security, no longer external but from within a strength. It's a challenge because your actions will be very volatile, even anxious. You need to temper your strength. The Sun's transit through Virgo always supports your analytical and service processes, but now it brings the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th, which will allow you to transcend demanding analysis and criticism. Venus in Libra, by its ruling planet, takes the reins of relationships in your home and with your family, allowing you to review your ideas. Rationality and mental processes will be guided with elegance and harmony. Both professionally and socially, you will face challenges that, if you confront them, will free you from inherited issues that are not truly yours to deal with. Leo. The Sun in the sign of Leo is the most powerful expression of vitality and creative energy that sustains us in life, both literally and figuratively. It's time for you to reclaim your expressiveness and, above all, your best quality, generosity. This is a very special year because Jupiter has entered your sign and will remain there for a year, bringing expansion and growth at all levels: physical, mental, creative, and emotional. At the beginning of the month, it will be in a harmonious dialogue with Neptune and Saturn. So use all your creativity, practice, and concentration, and strive to move from inspiration to reality. The solar eclipse in Leo on August the 12th will change circumstances, but don't feel like you are losing. Instead, make the decision to change your image, leave behind arrogance and presumption. And I suggest again that you find inspiration to create something new with intelligence. On the 19th, the South Node enters Leo, where it will remain for 18 months. This reinforces the idea that if you want to create something great, it must be for the benefit of all, almost selflessly, I would say. Only then will you reap the rewards. If you only think of yourself beforehand, you will lose recognition and self-confidence. On the 23rd, the Sun moves into Virgo, so you need to examine your finances and values. This also emphasizes service to others as a way to gain more resources. The lunar eclipse in Pisces on August the 28th marks the culmination of changes that have been occurring in this area for the past year and a half. Accept these changes and recognize that they provide you with security, not to hide from your fears, but to confront them so you can change for the better. Regarding ideas, communication, and mobility, from August the 1st to the 9th, all emotional and security matters will be resolved. It must be acknowledged that holding grudges isn't very creative, but they are real, and confronting them will allow you to free yourself from the weight in your heart. Wait for Mercury to move into Leo and conjunct Jupiter. Take advantage of whatever comes your way. Changes are good, I guarantee it, even if they aren't exactly as you imagined. We then move from a process of analysis and critique to a new way of articulating your professional, social, and career situation. Renewal is in the air. I know you will embrace it. Regarding love, with Venus now in Libra, ruling planet, since August the 7th, it takes the reins of relationships and creativity. Even ideas, inspiration, and mental processes will be guided with elegance and harmony, preventing indecision and being swept away by fantasy. Virgo, Mercury, your ruling planet, will be in Cancer until August the 9th. This has led you to think more deeply about past grievances, resentments, and mistakes, as well as the relationships and partnerships that have also been reviewed. Take advantage of these days to let go of the past. You no longer have the energy or time for recrimination. Instead, focus on the security and comfort of the company of your friends and associates. Mars is in Gemini until August the 10th, causing you to encounter arguments in your social and professional life. Be careful, because the opinions expressed by friends and associations may bring confrontations that are not logical but emotional. This situation is not easy for you because you are given no time to analyze every detail. On August 11th, when Mars enters Cancer, it enters an astrological situation that forces you to negotiate elegantly to seek a new level of security, no longer external, but from within, with inner strength. It is a challenge because our actions will be very volatile, even anxious. You need to temper your character. With the Sun in Leo, you are challenged to recognize your secret desires for recognition and applause. Be warned that with Jupiter in design for a year, these desires will not subside. You will not be able to deny them. On the contrary, they will grow. It's best to attend to them because there is nothing wrong with being recognized. Furthermore, it's the beginning of a new cycle in this area, and what you do for yourself to balance your introversion is truly important. You have 12 years to learn to be extroverted and open. You are receiving the influence of a great beginning, as Jupiter in Leo will be in a harmonious dialogue with Neptune and Saturn. So be inspired to overcome what you fear most and create a new reality within yourself. The solar eclipse on Leo on August the 12th will make you see things differently. A new cycle is definitely beginning for you. I invite you to be inspired to create something new with intelligence. I insist, it's not external, it's internal. With the Sun's move into Virgo on the 22nd, your new solar period begins along with a renewal of your vitality. The lunar eclipse in Pisces on August the 28th also arrives, indicating the end of the transformation phase that began 18 months ago. Nurturing your relationships with your partner and associates is important. Empathy is key. This isn't the time for demands and criticism. Venus will still be in Virgo until August the 6th, so take advantage of these days to pamper yourself, beautify, and update your image. When Venus moves into Libra, its ruling planet will strengthen your productivity, values, and the resources you can acquire. Undoubtedly, your creative resources are important and will flourish. Work and your new professional situation will unfold very well. But don't take anything for granted. Make your own effort. Everything should go smoothly. Let others encourage and guide you, but don't get involved in magical businesses. Libra, at the beginning of the month, when Venus is in Virgo, it leads to discussions in the social and professional spheres. Unexpectedly, superficial but highly creative debates will arise. You must make an effort to listen. This is a time to gather ideas, lots of them. This is the way you're used to, judging and criticizing. On August the 6th, Venus enters Libra, and being its ruling planet, takes the reins of relationships and creativity. However, it will clash with Neptune and Saturn in Aries, meaning you'll have to take action because your partner or associates will ask you to. This isn't a time to remain still and wait for the storm to pass, but your ideas, inspiration, and mental processes will be guided with elegance and harmony. Avoid indecisiveness and being swept away by fantasy. Mars is in Gemini until August the 10th, leading to interesting and novel discussions. But be careful, as Mercury in Cancer brings arguments based on emotions, memories, and resentments. On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer in an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate gracefully to seek a new levels of security, no longer external, but from within, with inner strength. It's a challenge because your actions will be very volatile, even anxious. You need to temper yourself and your strength. You can't remain still, but neither can you argue rationally when others are in an intense mood. With the Sun's transit through Leo, the area of your friends and associations is highlighted. For now, you'll agree with your partner and associates, and together you'll devise a plan, a strategy that everyone will enjoy. This situation will last for a year due to Jupiter's presence in Leo, indicating growth and expansion that will be framed by two more events. The first is the solar eclipse in Leo on August the 12th, which will change circumstances. But don't feel like you're losing. Instead, make the decision to change groups or friends. Perhaps some relationships will end, but leave arrogance and presumption behind. The second event occurs on the 19th when the South Node enters Leo, where it will remain for 18 months. This reinforces the idea that if you want to create something great, it must be for the benefit of all. Mercury will be helpful starting August the 10th when it moves into Leo and will help you propose creative, ingenious, and playful ideas. Just avoid stubbornness and the desire for control. When the Sun moves into Virgo, thought will become more important and Mercury will follow suit in the last week of the month, emphasizing rational and analytical thinking. However, the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th will change work situations, so pay attention to what's new. Scorpio. Mars, your ruling planet, is in Gemini until August the 10th, making your business dealings and relationships complex due to Mercury's final transit through Cancer, which makes you fickle and fearful of losing security. In addition, Uranus is also in Gemini, which will influence Mercury from now on, making your thinking faster, more original, and erratic, for better or for worse. On August the 7th, Venus moves into Libra, and by its ruling planet takes the reins of relationships and creativity. This is a challenge because acting with elegance as if nothing else matters, but relationships isn't your style, since you prefer something profound and focused. In truth, there's no way you can refuse these theoretical and, in your view, complacent discussions. On August 9th, Mercury moves into Leo, which will support more expressive, creative, and expansive thinking. On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer in an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate gracefully to seek a new level of security, no longer external, but from within, with inner strength. It's a challenge because your actions will be very volatile, even anxious. You need to temper your strength with the Sun's transit through Leo. The professional and social sphere is illuminated each year, but now it will be accompanied by Jupiter, which will remain in this sign for a year, exerting pressure to be extroverted, open, and expressive. This is difficult for you because you are introverted, quiet, and very focused. Showing off isn't your thing. In addition, you have the help of Neptune and Saturn, which bring work situations that require attention. First, set a goal and then develop a strategy to achieve it. This can take everyone from inspiration to reality. This is essential because of two special events that are about to begin. First, the solar eclipse in Leo on August the 12th, which will mark a substantial difference in the external environment with unexpected yet inevitable events. The second event is the South Node. Its entry into Leo for 18 months means that all growth must benefit everyone involved. This reinforces the spiritual force that Neptune in Aries now imposes on every conquest. In other words, what is worthwhile is acting from the spirit. With the Sun's advance into Virgo, this situation will ease somewhat, giving strength to your friends and groups. This period will bring you some relief, except for the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August the 28th. This will truly bring changes to groups, your hopes, and associations. Just remember that the effects of eclipses can occur earlier or later, in the case of lunar eclipses by a month, not just on the exact day. Sagittarius. Following the movements of Jupiter, the ruling planet of your sign, is essential so its presence in Leo for a year is favorable for you. The Sun's transit through this sign illuminates the area of your beliefs, higher knowledge, and connections with foreign lands. With the support of Neptune and Saturn in the area of your creativity, you can move from inspiration to reality. All of this will grow and bring magnificent benefits for you, beginning a 12-year period in which you will witness appropriate growth. However, there are two astrological events that mark the beginning of this process. The first one is the solar eclipse on Leo on August the 12th, which will shift the framework of your beliefs. And the events that unfold are facts that must be accepted, even though they require acknowledging what needs to change within yourself. The second one is the South Node's advance into Leo, which brings an energy of dedication, a banner that must be raised for the project to move forward. Combined with Neptunian influence, it's about serving others. It's not a personal project. Anyone who thinks otherwise will not progress. Mercury moves into Leo and will shift your thinking from intensity to expressiveness. This is a creative period, seeking out rehearsals, practice, and production. It will be very profitable for you later on. Mars is in your opposite sign, Gemini, until August the 10th, causing arguments with your partner and associates that are complicated by Mercury's final transit through Cancer, making you fickle and fearful of losing security. Furthermore, Uranus's presence in Gemini from now on will influence Mercury, making your thinking faster, more original and erratic, for better or for the worse. This makes you nervous because it distracts you and scatters your efforts. On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer, an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate and elegantly protect your resources and those you share with your partner. The guiding principle is care and protection. Don't be extravagant with what isn't yours. With the Sun's advance into Virgo, your professional and social life will be stressed. There's no way to analyze and dwell on the details, which in any case isn't your forte. You prefer to improvise or jump from one topic to another. However, the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th will bring a different social and professional atmosphere as well as in your home. Your strength lies in adapting, and that is your forte. When Venus advances into Libra by being its ruling planet, it will take the reins of relationships and creativity, bringing ideas, inspiration, and mental processes guided by elegance and harmony. Avoid indecisiveness and being consumed by fantasy. Capricorn, your ruling planet Saturn, being in Aries, influences Mars, and the relationship isn't as easy as it seems. It's enough to admit that following a strict regimen to achieve a goal is quite difficult, but it doesn't allow for improvisation, which pits Saturn's perseverance against Aries' impulsiveness. Now, this forces you to follow Mars's movements, and this month it goes from Gemini to Cancer, from Mercury's agility to the Moon's fickleness. Mars will be in Gemini until August the 10th, causing numerous actions among your colleagues and disrupting the work life for everyone. Afterwards, Mars moves into Cancer, making you fickle and fearful of losing the security of your romantic relationships or partnerships. This isn't easy for you precisely because of what's been explained. You like order and discipline, and Mars in Cancer acts on emotions and to protect security. Doesn't care about goals or achievements. On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer, an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate gracefully to seek a new level of security, no longer external, but from within, with inner strength. It's a challenge because your actions will be quite volatile, even anxious. You need to temper your character. The Sun's transit through Leo helps you see which situations should continue and which ones should end, something that will be even more evident this year since Jupiter's entry into Leo begins a 12-year period. Closing cycles isn't always easy, but anticipating a process of beginning and endings can be helpful. Furthermore, it enters in an harmonious dialogue with Neptune and Saturn. It is from your house that inspiration will come to bring it to fruition. In addition, Mercury enters Leo on August 9th, bringing you expressive, open, and creative ideas. This will help inspire you to create something new with intelligence. The solar eclipse in Leo on August the 12th will bring clarity to what can no longer continue and what will begin from this point forward. Furthermore, the South Node's entry into Leo brings a spiritual perspective to the process. You will need to discern what is worthwhile from what is no longer beneficial, not only for yourself, but for everyone involved. This is especially important regarding investments shared with partners and spouse. They could certainly grow, but as I mentioned, they must benefit a larger community. Generosity is the most important principle. When the Sun moves into Virgo, it brings a degree of relief, prompting you to carefully consider ideas and proposals coming from outside sources. Especially with the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August the 28th, it will support you in changing your beliefs and viewpoints. Venus in Libra, by virtue of its ruling planet, takes the lead in relationships in the professional and social spheres. Ideas and inspiration emerge, and mental processes are guided with elegance and harmony. Avoid indecision and being swallowed up by fantasy. Aquarius, with you we must begin with Pluto, now a permanent resident of your sign, which is supposed to give you power and transformative strength. However, astrologically it is ruled by Saturn, your ruling planet, which is in Aries. Thus the movements of Mars become the guide. Now that it is in Gemini, movements and thoughts are essential. But since Mercury is in Cancer, actions are driven by emotions. Neither arguments nor confrontations are rational. We could even say they are truly tantrums. So using intelligence is not so easy. Don't deceive yourself with your rationality. Conclude by clearing away some resentments, memories, and insecurities. Mars is in Gemini until August the 10th, causing you to encounter arguments that frighten you and that are complicated by Mercury's final transit through Cancer, making you fickle and fearful of losing your security. In addition to the presence of Uranus, which will now influence Mercury, making your thinking faster, more original and erratic. For better or for worse, this can make you nervous because having so many ideas at once prevents you from feeling secure. On August 11th, Mars enters your sign in an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate gracefully, to seek a new level of security, no longer external from within, but with inner strength. It is a challenge because your actions will be very volatile, even anxious. You need to temper your character. The Sun's transit through Leo means you'll see your partner or associates in a new light, who now need to be balanced with generosity. This year, Jupiter will nurture your romantic relationship, planting the seeds for a 12-year process. Take advantage of it and enjoy it. Furthermore, this energy enters in a harmonious dialogue with Neptune and Saturn. It is from your thoughts that the inspiration to bring it to reality will come. Imagine a wonderful partner and work to have it. It's not the person, it's your own attitude. Furthermore, Mercury enters Leo on August the 9th, bringing expressive, open, and creative ideas to share with your partner. This will help inspire you to create something new intelligently. Of course, inconsistency can lead to endless arguments and power struggles. The solar eclipse in Leo on August the 12th will bring clarity to what needs to change in your relationship. Perhaps you need to acknowledge a hidden situation. The decision is yours to know what attitude to take. Additionally, the South Node's entry into Leo brings a spiritual perspective to the process. You will have to discern what is worthwhile from what is no longer beneficial, not only for yourself, but for everyone involved. With the Sun's transit through Virgo, accounting, processes, and what you share with your partner are emphasized. Also, pay attention to the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August 28th. Adjustments will be made regarding your own resources as well. Venus in Libra, being its ruling planet, takes the reins of relationships in your higher education, travel, and abroad. Ideas, inspiration, and thought processes will be guided with elegance and harmony. Take advantage of this. It's a gift that will help you establish cordial and humane relationships. That's what you are good at. Pisces, Jupiter, your ruling planet, moves into Leo, which, to be honest, isn't as pleasant for you as its transit through Cancer was. However, it does bring professional and financial benefits if you make the effort to see them, seek them out, act upon them, and produce results. The fire energy might make you feel like what's important is slipping away and that there is no time for what suits you. Mercury's advance into Leo on August the 9th brings your thoughts to this work matter, which needs focus in order to take advantage of what's coming. The Sun's transit through Leo itself brings the focus to your work and area every year, and the start of the 12-year period in this zone compels you to recognize a new attitude and proposals to impact your productivity, values, and resources. Receiving inspiration from Neptune and Saturn to reach reality is the best case scenario, and chaos and restriction in the worst. So take advantage of what Leo brings to help you. Let me explain. The solar eclipse in Leo on August the 12th changes everyday circumstances with unavoidable events or truths which will force you to find inspiration to create something new with intelligence. And the South Node's transit into Leo demands spiritual goals, or at least goals that benefit the community, not just one person. This coincides with Neptune's influence on Aries, the spirit guides life, at least for now. Mars is in Gemini until August the 10th, causing arguments at home that threaten security and well-being, especially since Uranus will change your home environment. Remodeling or changes are likely. There's not much to gain from superficiality and resentment. Wait a while to speak objectively. On August 11th, Mars enters Cancer, and while this energy is comfortable for you, it does so in an astrological situation that compels you to negotiate gracefully, to seek a new level of security, no longer external but from within, with inner strength. The Sun's transit into Virgo illuminates the area of partnerships where, after a few days of analysis, judgment, or service from your partner or associates, it's necessary to acknowledge what has been learned and move on to other matters. Continuing to criticize will no longer be possible. Furthermore, the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August the 28th will clearly reveal what you truly feel or carry in your soul, which you must accept and from now on. This will generate definitive changes in you and your image. See you soon.